Another useful feature with charts is trend lines, and this is used to predict future values. So if you see that your data is increasing over time, then you can kind of get an idea of what you may expect if the trend continues down the road. Or if it's decreasing, you can also determine that. So it's kind of a way of projecting future values, and this is a big deal in the business industry because I mean a lot of times corporations are looking at profits, they're looking at customers. I mean they're always trying to look at what do they anticipate in the next 5 to 10 years. So trend lines kind of help with that, being able to try to predict what's going to happen if things are continuing in the same rate. So the way we would create a trend line in Excel is you would select trend line in the charts element list, or you might select it as a feature in the format options if that's available to you. And then you have a couple of options of trend lines. So you can do like a linear or a polynomial or exponential, but you can kind of pick the trend line that seems to match the data. In fact, a good trend line should match the data and predict reasonable future values. So it's not going to be like an exact. It's not going to come up with some exact formula for being able to predict stuff, but it can at least give you an idea. If the growth rate looks like it's going to be a polynomial growth rate, then you can apply that trend line and kind of see what you should anticipate your data being down the road. Or if it looks like it's going to be a linear increase, then you can kind of see what it would look like if you apply a linear trend line.
Let's now show an example of a trend line in a chart. So the first thing is we need a chart. So let's make a chart again, and once again we'll do some years. So 2010, 12, that should be 2012, 13, 14, 16. Okay, and then we need some data here. Let's make this very simple. There we go. And I'm going to select all this, and we'll go ahead and create a chart. And since it's going to be since we need a trend line, we need line charts. So we need to go to line. And once again, we need to change our data. So I'm going to go select data. We're going to get rid of the first data series. We're just going to remove it completely. And then we're going to edit our years and put it as part of the horizontal axis. There we go. And then let's move it over to another sheet. So here we go. It's another sheet. And that font is annoying me. So let's just increase the font size. There we go. So there we go. Here's our chart. So now we need to add a trend line. So I believe if we go to chart elements and we can see trend line. Here we go. So let's take a look at some options. So here are some options. Linear, exponential. So we'll do linear. Actually, we'll do linear forecast. That makes a little more sense. So let's do linear forecast. And so it's kind of hard to see here. So let's see if we can change the format of this. So let's see if we can change the color. That's a little bit better. A little bit, not by much. It's actually a lot smaller in here than I thought it would be. But the whole point of the trend line is just to show that we can kind of see where is our data going if we were to kind of project what's going on. So this is a linear trend line. So it does seem like it fits our data pretty well, especially since it is a linear data. So let's change some stuff here. Let's try another example. So let's try a polynomial one. 2, 8, 32, 64. So I'm just doing powers of 2 here. So let's take a look at our chart. So now we can see that this changed a lot, and we see that our trend line really doesn't fit anymore with the linear trend, so that doesn't work. So we can change the trend line if we want to. We can try exponential. That works pretty well. We can actually go to more options. Let's see what more options gives us. So we get polynomial, order 2. So there we go. So I like the more options here because it gives us several things. We can do logarithmic. Yeah, that doesn't seem to fit our line at all. So polynomial, we can do order 2, 3, and higher orders. Order 2 is usually enough. Maybe order 3, that kind of fits a little bit better. So this kind of gives us an idea to show that if the current rate of increase continues with each year, this is what we can anticipate. So maybe in a couple of years, we would see it go all the way up to 160, close to 180. So that's the whole purpose of the trend line, just kind of seeing what is our data projected to be like down the road if we use the same model from the previous data sets. That's all we're doing here.
We'll now discuss how to use tables in Excel. When creating tables, we're talking about an actual table in Excel. We're not talking about just some portion of the spreadsheet. I mean, we need to have some data, but we're going to show how to actually convert the data into an official table. And we'll see later that we can do some stuff with these tables once we have it created. So the first thing we need to do is make sure we select our range of cells. So this is going to be some portion of data that we can actually convert. So once we've selected our data, you would go to the Insert tab and then select Table. And from there, you can specify whether the current data has headers or if we'll add headers later. So we're talking about like the column headers here. So your table may already have that or may already be in your spreadsheet, so you would just say that your table already has headers. If you don't have headers in there, then don't check that part and headers will automatically be created. Now it'll say like column 1, column 2, column 3, so you'll need to rename them, but at least create the proper formatting for those headers. Now once we've created the table, this will give us a new design tab where we can do all sorts of options with it, whether we need to add columns or add or remove rows. We can change the font, we can change sizes, we can do all sorts of stuff, we can change colors, but we have a lot of options available to us in the design tab. And all the operations that we can perform in a table are the same as a spreadsheet. So things like cell references, formulas, functions, using the data in there and creating charts from them, we can do all those things in here.
Let's now go over an example of how we would create the table in Excel. So if we're going to create a table, we need some data. So that's pretty simple. So let's say I'm going to add some column headings here too. So we'll say year. If I can spell year, that would be great. Okay, so 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then maybe I'll just do like column 1, column 2. We'll just add some columns in here. 3. Okay. And then I'm going to actually resize the columns. There's a really neat autofit trick you can do. So if you select your columns and if you double click on one of the lines, it does an autofit. So that's pretty neat for just resizing columns. You can do the same thing for rows. And let's just put some numbers in here. We're not too worried about what the numbers actually are. We just need to have some data in here. 12, 13, 15, 16, 19. There we go. That looks good. All right, so we want to select our data. So we're going to select all this. And then we go to Insert. And then we see here Table right below the Insert tab. So I'm going to click on Table. And it asks what's the data. And we've already selected it. And we already have headers in here. So we'll just check mark the box that says my table has headers. So we'll click OK. And sure enough, this is now a table. We even have a design tab for it. So we can do all sorts of things about showing the header row or not. There's total rows we can include if we want to. There's different table styles. So we can change the style that we want. We'll leave it at that. So this is now a table. And we have some other options here which we'll get to in a little bit. But this is our complete table.
Now, there are some options that are specific to tables that I do want to take a couple minutes to go over. The first one is formatting. So we can select table styles under the Design tab, and you can choose how to lay out your data. Now, most of this is just going to be changing like the color scheme or maybe how the lines are set up, but you can kind of choose how you want to format your tables, and this may depend on how you want them to appear. But the other big features are sorting and filtering, but we'll talk about sorting first. So under each column, there is an arrow button, and if you click on that arrow button, you can actually choose to sort by the column, that particular column. So we can use a custom sort if we want to sort by one column or more than one column. You can sort alphabetically or numerically. You can sort by one column, you can sort by multiple columns, but we have a lot of options here on how we want to arrange our data. And what's nice about it is when we sort that one column, we can rearrange all the other data in that table so that that one column is sorted. We can also filter data in our table, which is a really neat feature, and this is also under the arrow button. So not only does that arrow button for each column allow us to do sorting, but it also allows us to filter data. So here we can actually choose which fields we want to include and which data we don't want to include. So we can show only the rows that have specific data, or we can show the rows that have some other data, or we can hide specific rows if we really don't care about that data.